Slice together some of this Camel ADV products. It's a bar riser. Let's see what happens. Should go right about there. There we go. I'm just gonna try this out and see what it is. I noticed that the cable over here rubs a little bit. Not a huge fan of that. This was, I acquired it with the purchase of the exhaust, and I'm just seeing if it's going to work out all together. I believe it will. Let's see what happens. It's a 12 mil. Now I got the bars loose, so I'm going to pull out these 12 mils pretty quick. There we go. Oops, sorry. Yep, there we go. Pull out these 12 mils pretty quick. Shouldn't take very long. Now that I got all 4 bolts out, a little handy here. Got a magnetic tank. It's on my tank pad. Then we're going to just pull these caps off. They're not going to stick, so I can just put them in my bag here. While I sit on the bike on the center stand. And these bars are now removable. Okay, let's get to opening the package, installing the product, putting in the bolts, and a little bit of Loctite. As you can tell, the spaces are for the most part installed into place. The bolts are ran down, they're snugged, they're not torqued down. Put a little Loctite on each of them. What I wanted to show here is that I am rising the bar as well as I'm pitching the bars forward. I feel very comfortable like this, and I think I'm going to try to rock it and see what happens. I did try it full lock, and I don't interfere, which is nice on both ends. Oop, I touched a little bit there. I got to adjust that mirror. We'll take care of that. Here we go. We're going to adjust this real quick. I put on the riser. Riser's down here. Looks really good. I just cinched it down. I'm going to put the riser on, or at least I have put the riser on, and then I'm pitching the bars forward a little bit as well. Get a little bit more height out of the bars. And it actually feels quite comfortable up here, so I'm going to ride it here and see how it feels for a little bit. Decided to loosen it up, scoot it forward just a little bit. Not forward, sorry. Towards me just a little bit. From where I had it, risers are on, they're good, it's all snugged down, doesn't interfere with the Swego Tech, which is nice. The fork shield, which is the first upgrade I've done on this bike, it's an amazing upgrade, honestly. It really does make a difference for wind. Let me see, bark busters are fit nice as well, on both sides. Let's see here. We're good. Now I just got to mount this GoPro, or sorry, the quad lock, and figure it out. So the actual mount itself looks really good. It's mounted really nicely. It's secure. Only thing I don't like, which is obviously the intention of it, is to run this portion right here to stiffen the triple clamp, to stiffen up the bars as well, just in case of an accident or you fall or whatnot and the bars get tweaked. These whole things can twist, and then you have to twist them back. And so this will kind of either prevent that from happening, or if it does happen, it'll lessen it. This I had to put over here for the quad lock. I'm not a huge fan of it. The phone ends up like, yeah, it just looks terrible. But it is what it is. Let's run it, see if I get used to it. I also thought about putting it down here behind the bag, right here. Put it right here. Essentially, which would be safe because the bag would hit, but then again, it's on my crash bar, which is not a great place for it to be. But then again, it's on a motorcycle, a cell phone in general, and it's going to get wet and hit and moved. But here would be better. Here's best. Just a couple of things I wanted to talk about as far as the actual product itself, the Camel ADV Bar Riser for the Africa Twin. It works for the 1100 and as well as the 1000. Price around $70, not bad. Machine piece of aluminum, very nice piece. I didn't find any problems with it. The hardware is nice hardware as well. I think it's a fair price. The fitment as well was quite nice. I didn't have any issues with misaligned bolts or bolts being too short, or the bracket itself only, you had to chip off a little bit to make it fit. No, it didn't have any sort of issues there. And does it do as it advertised? I guess we'll answer that in the end. What I particularly do not like about it, let's start with that. It does slow your steering response. So what it does essentially with the bar riser is it straightens your back up. It kicks your weight farther back on the bike. And by doing it, it doesn't necessarily mess with the geometry of the bike, but it does mess with where your weight is distributed on the motorcycle. And it can slow the response in the front, which is understandable. A second thing I wasn't a huge fan of was the placement of the quad lock, where I had to put the quad lock in lieu of the Camel ADV brace being there in order to stiffen up those two posts for the triple clamps. Another one is it reduces the sportier feel of the motorcycle, since you are sitting farther back. You're not fitting, if you don't feel as much as you're on a sportier bike. And that was a nice thing, or one of the nice things about the Africa Twin, is even though it's an adventure bike, it was pretty, you can still lean onto your hands a little bit there and get more aggressively into it. And the handlebar position overall, it did raise it up. So, I mean, I wasn't too sure if I liked it at first, especially when I was just sitting on the bike initially. But what I realized after riding the bike is it is a more relaxed position, so I can go a little bit longer. It's not necessarily I got fatigued as it was way before, but it feels more relaxed. I haven't done a really long ride on it yet like this, but I have done 300-400 miles on it as far as my natural riding, and I really haven't had any issues. It does fix the posts as far as from post to post, so that way they don't twist or bend or warp or anything like that. So that's a big plus. That's really nice about the bar, or the bar riser, just in case I do drop the bike. Another thing I do like is the weight transfer. So because of that weight transfer, and it does give up a little bit of that steering response, I do feel like I can apply the front brakes much heavier and much more frequently and more aggressively than I normally would when I'm leaning onto the bars. Which is a nice thing, because it means I can rely on my front brake, which is obviously more my aggressive, my more functional brake in terms between the front and the rear. I can depend on it more to make a good, clean stop, which obviously is going to be better for safety. I did ride with my wife on the back of the motorcycle recently with the bar riser, and again, the weight transfer with everything as far as for using the front brake was much more pleasurable. She wasn't necessarily leaning onto my body when I applied the front brake, therefore just making a little more stress on the arms. She was more kind of just around me, and then I didn't put too much stress or pressure on my wrists and hands as I was using the front brake, making me feel more confident in using it. As well as standing up position is much more comfortable, much more comfortable for the motorcycle. It's something that feels 5 or 6 times better. You had that slight lean when you're standing up on the stock bars, even you can fix them so that they were kind of standing up at the most apex you can get them. It was kind of a little short, and I'm not a very tall guy, but I do have relatively long arms. I'm standing at about 6 foot, 5'11". Can it be a little difficult? Yeah. Did I put the bar risers on to help out? Big time, big time. It feels much more natural, feels much more comfortable, feels much more like a dirt bike, which is what I'm used to. Would I recommend them? Yeah, I would. Unless you're doing something, where you feel like that steering response you're lacking is something that you really want, you really need, and you really have to have, and damn everything else. Yeah, you can forget the bar risers. But if you're using the bike, as an off-road motorcycle, where you have a possibility of a low-speed crash. If you're using it as a street bike, which low-speed crashes can happen as well, but also you're looking for something a little more comfortable, something a little more long distance riding, yeah, this is something you can definitely look into. You don't necessarily have to use it to stand up. It could just be a more comfortable position for your hands to be in, and a more comfortable position for you to be in as well. Um, it's just some things that I really feel like they kind of come out on top. And riding the bike so far, it's been quite pleasant. At first, I was pretty sure I was going to rip the bar riser off as soon as I started riding it because of that slight, slowness to the dip. But just like the front tires, they're not as skinny as the Karoo streets were, and so the dive took a little bit of a hit, and then again with the bar riser, it's just even a little slower. But overall, it's not something that I necessarily miss, and I do enjoy the benefits much more than I do the things that I'm missing because of it. So I think I'm going to keep it on the bike, and I'm going to recommend it to anybody who asks as far as it if they're looking for these particular benefits. If you have any questions as far as the actual product itself, how to install it or whatnot, yeah, shoot me a message, drop a comment, whatever it is, let me know. Let's talk about it.